Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on how to design and sell your first online course. My name is Elena Motonono, and I'm very glad that you were able to join me. If you're joining me live, if you're watching the recording, I'm glad that you were able to find some time to do that. What I'm going to do here in the coming 45 minutes to an hour is just give you a brief overview of what I have been able to accomplish by creating my own course, and also to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned. Sometimes you start doing something, you have a very vague idea of what it is that you would like to do and how you're supposed to do it. But as you walk through the steps and learn more about the process, you get to a point where you're more comfortable with the tools that you're using, and and then you have more questions as you find answers to them. Then you become more aware of what you should have done in the first place. So in my experience, course creation has been a really interesting and exciting journey. And when I first started teaching online, of course, it was over 5 years ago, I didn't really know much about course creation. And at that time, it was very new. So for me, teaching online was pretty much doing one-on-one lessons via Skype. If I were to do it all over again, maybe today, I would probably start with an online course because it's easier to put it together, and it's easier to find a large pool of students when you're just starting out with a course. It is a little intimidating when you're starting out and you're thinking, oh my goodness, now I have to find my own students, or I have to find my own clients, groups to work with. It is very intimidating, especially when you think about, well, do I do marketing? How do I do that? Do I place an ad online or Facebook, anywhere else? But when you do a course, it is a little bit easier, and everything you do, everything you put online in the end is going to pay off. So with an online course, you have a high return on your investment of both time and even money if you're putting some money to advertise the course. So if I were to do it all over again, I would probably, and if you are just starting out and trying to figure out what it is that you would like to do online, how you want to teach, you started blogging, or you're probably developing your website, and then you're thinking, okay, what is my next step? I would highly recommend that you try to get into this online or e-learning industry, because it's going to bring you a lot more in a shorter period of time than, for instance, with you just recruiting 2 or 3 students to start out with. Um, I remember when I first got into online teaching and specifically creating online courses on Udemy, I wanted to, this Udemy is just one of the marketplaces, by the way. I'm going to talk a little bit about Udemy specifically because this is what my experience has been. And when I first began working on Udemy, they did not have the system that they have right now, to where they had a, in order for you to sign up, you had to pay a fee. And so, for instance, if I wanted to upload my course on Udemy in 2012, that's when I started, and if I wanted it to be a paid course, I had to pay a certain fee a year, and it was rather an expensive investment, high investment, and I didn't at the time know how many people I would have and whether or not it's going to be even worth it. So I just created private courses at the time, so which means I only created them for the students that I was teaching online. And then by accident, a few years later, I discovered that they no longer had that policy to where if you want to um, create an online course or become an online teacher, you actually have to pay to use their platform. Now they just take a percentage of your sales. So the industry has changed a lot, and people are talking every year more and more about this online learning industry. And as students are becoming more aware of the possibilities and wide range of options that they have to learn languages specifically or any other things, they will be checking out those online courses. They will be finding you. And it's good to have an online course because it's something that keeps bringing you students. You know, even maybe a year or two after you have um, put the course together, they will still be finding you through, for example, Udemy and contacting you, or just signing up for your course, which is really good. So what I want to do today is go through the steps of what you do to create a successful course, but not just creating a course. My focus is to get you beyond that and to start thinking and making some steps to actually sell the course. Because, frankly speaking, most of us teachers have done lots of material development, and we know how to put material together. Maybe we need to polish it up. We could learn a thing or two. It's much easier for us to put materials together to teach, for instance, writing or speaking or listening skills or whatever is it that you enjoy teaching. But it is more difficult and challenging to sell it. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I have mastered the art of selling and that all of a sudden I've just become a millionaire. But I wanted to share with you something that could help you to get started from the very beginning where you probably are, or just questioning or figuring out what you want to do, to actually making some money, and then also widening your net to attract more students, potential students that you'll be working with. So I going to share my PowerPoint. And by the way, if you are not um, if you're not a part of the um, course, or let's say if you want to take notes and you don't have the time to do that, or you haven't had the time to write everything down as I go through the slides, don't worry, because within 2 hours um, after this presentation, I am going to send you the PowerPoint, and then you can take notes. So if you feel better just relaxing, sitting and watching, that's okay. You know, you don't have to panic if you have lost your place or forgot which slide you were on. So I'm going to share my entire screen, and immediately you will see the PowerPoint. So creating and selling your online course. Um, Actually, it's amazing to, when you think of it, that online learning industry poised 107 billion, I'm talking not million, but billion dollars in 2015. It's a booming, it's a growing industry. And like, if I go back to what it was like for me when I first started in 2012, barely anybody knew what online courses were. And these days, I mean, I published my courses on Udemy in 2014, and it seems like almost every week or every other week I get an email from some new platform that is asking me to upload my course onto their platform. Once you have a course, that's another benefit. I haven't done that yet, but once you have a course that is available for sale, you can always upload your course on another platform. And but to do that and to make it a little easier for you, I'll tell you what kind of course this should be um, to be the best and to work best for you. So a lot of people would say, well, what do you do with video tutorials on YouTube? There's tons of video tutorials. Aren't those good enough? Well, apparently not, because they lack structure, organization. They lack um, um, other materials, additional materials that go with a course. So YouTube videos, while they exist and they can work and do their job, they do not and cannot replace online courses. So in my experience, again, this is from somebody who published a course at the end of last year and has been I think moderately successful, because I really didn't know how to or what to expect of it. At first, I really had doubts if anybody was going to sign up. To this day, I have close to 1,500 students. So I would say I don't have working um, on a specific area that you would like to focus on, your audience, who you're working with. Some people work well with um, uh, a group of people from one particular country, or you want one specific age to work with, which you can always um, talk about and identify as you put together your course. So your audience, then your content, of course, is very important. I have unfortunately taken courses that were nothing but a promotion of something else. So it's really terrible. It makes me feel awful when I take a course and I feel like I'm taken advantage of. So people wanted just to um, give me the content, but they were not interested in me learning anything. So the content has to be so rich and worthwhile that people really feel like, wow, this is something life-changing. And I will talk a little bit about it. What does it mean? How do you create a content that people will say, wow, this is different. This is not what I expected it to be. Then your presentation. Now, of course, I personally know that presentation is not necessarily my strength, in that I cannot, you know, be a stand-up comedian, and that seems to go really well and attract lots of people. If you're not like that, it's okay, because I'm not like that, and I still have students. So your presentation matters. And what I mean by that is you find your own voice. If you have ever taken writing classes, that's what they always encourage you. Because when you start out, you want to be like, A and B and C, and there's so many teachers out there, and you think, how can I ever compete with them? But there's something that you can bring to the table, and as long as you find your own voice. And this is something that I work with, whenever I have consultations with teachers, I try to help them find their own voice, so that they are unique. And if they're working with a particular audience from a specific country, then they're speaking to that audience. If they're working with a specific age group, um, obviously, as your course grows, you can never control that. You will have students from different countries, different age groups. But it is very important when you're first creating it to see who you're talking to. You know how when you are in a real classroom and you are looking at the students and you know when the students are getting tired or bored, and when they are not paying attention, and it's a sign for you to do something different. Um, so you need to um, speak to your audience, and your presentation, your own voice should connect to that specific audience, but not just the gray, um, um, you know, uh, monotonous thing. It has to be somebody that has a face. So your presentation always targets your audience, all connected. Then you're meeting the needs of your students, and I'll talk a little bit about that too. Then your course image is important, and then your social connectedness. One of my students a couple of years ago said, you can almost, these days, she said, you can almost sell anything if you are big into social networking. And she is so absolutely right. Because if you have a large crowd following you on any of the platforms, and if you create something, if you connect with this crowd and you can create something that works well for them, then it's going to actually be helpful, and it's going to bring results. And and this crowd is going to tell their friends, and the friends will tell their friends, and so forth. So social networking, um, whenever again I speak to online teachers, and I tell them it's very important that you spend time connecting with your audience, and maybe trying to grow it, grow your mailing list, grow your following on, Twitter or any other, not all of them, of course, but at least choose one, and work on really getting to know your audience, and being connected socially and on social networks. For an online teacher, this is a must. There is no way around it. So how do you find your niche? So I'm going to go through every single step and help you determine that. And maybe some of it you is already familiar, but in a new context, sometimes something that you've always know can take a new spin. So um, pay attention, and if you have some ideas or thoughts, just write them down as you go, or take notes, or send me an email, or even chat. There is a chat option here. I will, before um, we finish off, I will definitely look at the chat window wherever you put your comments that you will be coming. Be sure to write something, even if it's on your mind, so it's not haunting you anymore. So for your niche, you need to define 3 or 5 areas that you are good at. Now, this is a really broad statement, and I hate it myself, but I have written some, and in my book, I will talk at length about how do you define your niche. But good at, what does it really mean? It means something you're passionate about. And usually something that you're passionate about is something that keeps you awake at night, something that um, you can be doing and forget that you need to do anything else, something you could be doing without even being paid. So this is your passion, and you can really enjoy teaching English altogether, but there's probably 1 or 2 areas that you really get, and you love them. You can explain things easily. That's the second thing. If we're talking about teaching, then finding your uh, teaching niche is, or niche. I'm sorry if I keep going back and forth between American and British English. Sorry. So it's something that you can really explain, but you can explain it in a few words. And that means it's something that you really get. And that means it's something that you're passionate about, etc. So then you probably have had interaction with your students that they enjoy learning this particular aspect from you. For instance, they will tell you, I really love the way you teach grammar, or the way you're working on this particular piece on whenever we have movie lessons. I really love it. Or I really like how we're discussing vocabulary and learning and building up our vocabulary. So um, when students help you identify, your students actually will help you identify this. In fact, just a side note, as a side note, many of the things that I have done to date, starting from when I first began teaching online, would not have happened had it not been for my students. Because a student once told me, I really need these materials, but it would be so cool if they were in one place. So I'm thinking, well, why don't I start blogging, and then I can put those materials, videos and assignments and whatever else on the blog, and he can use that, or she can upload them and work with them. And that way they won't have to haunt YouTube or any other places and see where their assignment is and so forth. And later somebody else said, hey, we really like the way you explain grammar. How about you create a series, a course, a series of podcasts? So I started doing that, and then somebody else said, well, I'm really struggling with this particular grammar book because it's written in English. Well, is there a way that you can write it for us in Russian? So I did that. So everything else, everything that I have done, and even this particular webinar, and the book that I'm writing for teachers, is in response to the need that is there. And I know the need is there because I have been there too. But when people come to you and they ask you for this specific thing, it means they themselves help you identify what you're good at, where your niche is. Then you have unique ways of capturing your students' attention. That's very important. Um, then the second thing also is, let's say it's really difficult for you to decide what it is that you like this and that. Request your students' input about your teaching. What I did a year ago when I was rebranding myself and doing a lot of thinking over, I guess I got to that crisis age for my business, and not just because of myself, but also because of the circumstances. I couldn't teach the audience that I was working with, primarily because of their economic situation, etc. So I knew I had to do something different. So I had to rethink and do a lot of digging. And in this process, I write to my students and I said, okay, you've been taking lessons with me for a couple of years. Tell me why you would choose and refer other people to me. And their responses were amazing because they opened my eyes to the things that I never knew. And and I asked them specifically, why do you like my teaching grammar, and how is me teaching grammar different from other people, or some specific things like that. Don't just tell them, how do you feel about my lessons, because they will tell you I feel good. But ask them specific questions. Ask them questions that are geared towards getting a result. Then the second, next advice is probably look on e-course marketplaces, for example, udemy.com, WizIQ. Those are very common. There are a few others, but these are probably the most common. And see what's being taught in the area. For instance, if your students tell you, hey, we really enjoy you teaching, for instance, you teaching grammar, then you go and see what is available in that area, and how your students can, or how you can communicate with your students, and offer your expertise in this area, and see what people are teaching, because sometimes people are teaching grammar in this way, and you look at it and you say, I'm not really sure that this is a good way, or you try to change it. Then the next piece of advice is definitely narrow down the area to one manageable piece that seems to be missing. As you go and do your research and see, okay, this person is doing grammar but they're focusing on modals, or this person is doing, well, then you find that, well, there's one piece that is missing, and it appears that conditionals are missing, but conditionals are very important. So maybe I could focus on that and create a course based on that. Uh, and by the way, if you're listening in and you're not an English teacher, I'm really sorry that all of my examples deal with English, teaching English. But if you're teaching a language, I think you should follow. But in other cases, it might be a little off. So either way, thank you so much for being patient. Um, and then you ask yourself, if you only had 5 lessons to teach this piece, what would you focus on? Um, so for instance, you find that you're good at grammar, then you narrow it down and say, well, my students say that I explain complex grammar really easily. Then you work on modals and you come to the idea of how, 5 ways that you could use modals. Let us move on. Oops, I'm sorry. Just wanted to make sure that you, all right. Just a moment. Okay, good. Sorry. I wanted to make sure that um, that everybody's seeing the same thing, and it seemed to me that it wasn't the case. Okay. All right. So if for some reason, because I just noticed that my camera was on, so if for some reason you haven't caught that, you're still going to get the handout. But you define your niche. You go through the things that you're good at. You request your students' input. You look at marketplaces because they can give you lots of interesting ideas. Then you narrow down the area to one manageable piece, and then you say, well, if I only had 5 lessons to teach it, what would I do? Um, then how do you reach out to your audience? Then the second piece, of course, if you have a wonderful course, if you have put together a course on modals and 5 ways to use modals, for example, in conversation, your course is still not complete because what it needs is it needs students, right? So as you're creating this content, and this is a little bit strange for us as teachers to do and maybe to get used to, but as you create content, you run events. For example, you're writing about, let's say you decided that for the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks, you will be working on your course. And you're not working on your course in the closet. You're working on your course and giving little bits and pieces for your students to see. Whether you post it on your blog or your website and you're getting your students, you're interacting with your students, you're trying to get them to comment or to give some ideas. You start a group on, open a page, for example, on Facebook or any other social network. You run events like this one. It's pretty easy if you have no glitches like I just did with Google. Pretty much it's really easy. You run events like webinars, and you do sometimes also create an e-course, for example, a 5-lesson e-course where you do like a teaser thing. But you pretty much have to stay on top of your focus, and your goal is not just on creating content, but creating your audience and getting your audience excited about this new content. And let's say even using push marketing strategy. In other words, you're just throwing, in a way, your product at them and saying, hey, this is really cool. Would you like to join? So you're running test courses. You're soliciting reviews as people are writing reviews. Don't just tell them, hey, can you write a review? And when people say, oh, I really liked your course, this is not the best review, really. Um, and the the best review is when people say, hey, I really like the course because it helped me achieve A, B, and C. This is the course that is focusing on results. And this is actually whenever you are taking the course or I'm taking the course, I always look at people's reviews, and I'm interested in people saying, oh, I really like this course because it helped me achieve A, B, and C, instead of it was a good course, she's a nice teacher, etc. And then you create a group of fans, give them an introduction to your new course. So you need to essentially grow your list. In fact, if you don't know where to start your blog or what to blog about, I think it's going to be a great thing where you take a challenge, a 6-week or an 8-week challenge, and you're putting together your course. And week by week, you are interacting with your students. You are giving them bits and pieces of and fragments of your course, and trying to get them excited about it, and maybe share and get more activity going. So not just focus, your focus is never just on how do I create a course and put together content, which is also very important, but also who is my audience, what do they want, and do I have them? So it's not like, oh yeah, there are some people out there who really would like my course, but you need to put this work together in order uh, to to create this audience. Um, so every student in the world, and then so that's to reach out to your audience, and then you are asking yourself, so how do I create the content that will connect with my audience? I like this business trainer. Mm, she's got a website called My Name is Brienne. She's from Canada, and I really enjoy, she helps people put together online courses, and she's got lots of content, really valuable content on her website. And her Twitter is MNIB, which stands for My Name Is, and then Brienne. So one of the things that I really enjoyed in one of her latest posts is she was talking about 5 things that your audience needs. And these are the 5 things that you have to have in your course. Um, First of all, people are, not all of them, of course, just a little side note, you can't have all of the 5 points um, in your course, but a couple would be good. So people like something that helps them make money. In our case, it probably is not going to work, although indirectly it will, because most of the time, and most of my students that have taken my courses, classes, etc., they were able to advance in their career and as a result make more money. Something that will help them save time. This is a big thing. This is why I am requesting, and I'm talking about, when you create a course, don't just create a course on English grammar, all this intensive or rather extensive detailed course in English grammar. Put something together that is manageable, one chunk. um, Something that when people take it, it's something that they can take and say, oh yes, I know this, I know grammar, not just the entire grammar, but I know conditionals, I know how to use them, and I can use them, because that's a challenge for students, to when they have like an entire grammar course that has 50 lessons, they're lost, they lose their passion really quickly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the actual content of and structure of your course. It's something that has to help them save time and save energy. So based on these two um, points, I would say that your courses have to be really short. Don't make them long. Long does not always mean, and especially at this time, day and age when we live in the twittering society, where people are just posting something and everything is so quick and fast and changing, you need to be sure to give them something that will help them save time, save money, save or not lose money in the future, now or in the future. In other words, if they take your course, they won't have to spend hours with the teacher. And there are some chunks of language learning that we can put into a course where students really don't need a teacher. And then they have to feel better about themselves. When do they feel better about themselves? When your course is 30 hours long, by the time they're done, if they're done or when they're done and whenever they're done, they will probably be tired and exhausted, whoever gets to the finish line. So that is why you want to have a course that is compact and short, that saves people time, energy, and money, and makes them feel better about themselves. Actually, this is a week or 2 weeks ago, I was doing a webinar for Russian students who would like to learn English classics. And um, I was telling them the biggest mistake that people make whenever they start reading English classical literature is by picking up Charles Dickens or Jane Austen. Not necessarily that those authors are bad, but they wrote huge books. And I said, when you start something for the first time, you're reading um, English classics for the first time, and you're opening a book that has 400 to 800 pages, and you spend 3 days working on one page, probably it's not something that is going to make you feel better about yourself. Try to focus, I told them, on reading small, short stories that you can finish off within a week or 2 weeks and then feel better about yourself because now you're familiar with O. Henry, for instance. Not necessarily English classics, American, but anyway, I was talking about reading books in the original language. So, or read, Sherlock Holmes stories, Arthur Conan Doyle. They're short, they're manageable. It's much easier than reading a huge book, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. So something that will make them feel better about themselves. Um, how do you get the content and presentation to work well? You have to focus and narrow down, sift through, take things out that shouldn't be there, and keep focusing and narrowing things down. When we first start out, we're so overwhelmed, and I can attest to that. And even to this day, I get so overwhelmed, and I have these moments of, okay, you won't be able to get everything done. Focus on one thing. Focus on two things that are going to help you promote what you're doing. Don't do 25 things. Your content has to be short, sweet, compact, and powerful. So when, let's say you have a course that people can go through in 5 days or 10 days, it's great. And you can actually market it this way. Your course has to be high quality, which does not necessarily mean high quality videos and staged videos. No, you can make something really simple, but really valuable. It has to be actionable and practical. Everybody loves courses with lots of assignments and additional materials. You don't want to have a course that has very little uh, steps that will help people work on the theoretical. You don't want just focus on theory. You want to give as many exercises as you can, and different exercises. And you also want to connect it to reality, so people feel like they're not just learning the language, but they're actually applying it. And your content has to give them the assurance of certain results. So by the end of this course, the students will know how to use conditionals or modals, or they will be able to write emails without hesitation. They will be able to speak um, and pronounce long phrases without stumbling over complicated words. This is a tagline actually of one of my courses that's online on Udemy. So you need to focus and narrow things down. Then image. When you choose an image for your course, and when I first chose an image for my course, I I'm not really an artsy person. I'm giving you a disclaimer. So my first attempt was actually Udemy helped me out on that one, and it taught me a lot. If you're creating a course, your image has to be an image and very few words. The fewer words, the better. If you can get away with no words, it's even better. Your image has to even send a powerful message. It has to be happy. It has to give people an idea that they, once they look at that, they feel better. It prompts them to take your course. So you actually have to take some time, either find an image on public domain, Flickr, or I purchased it from a website like iStockphoto.com. If you want to go a little bit fancier, then you can go on Fiverr.com, and a very low, a low price, $5. Um, you can create an image, or you can work with somebody who can create an image for you. If you have ideas but you don't know how to put them together, please don't try to put them together. Use this time wisely on putting together content, unless, of course, you're very good um, at design. So image, okay? And then how do you promote it? And that's another thing. You've got this wonderful, bright and shiny course. How do you promote it? You need to create free events, um, webinars, free courses, just several emails. Sometimes people do calls, like 15-minute calls, where you take one aspect of your course and you practice, and people see the result within 15, 20 minutes. And that is the way for you to build clientele. If when you work with people like that, and when you're just starting out, when you don't have millions of followers, it's good to connect with people on a personal basis, so when they see a difference, then they are going to promote you. You find out from them what their problems are, and build a group of supporters, and then test your product. Um, and by that I mean you give them an opportunity to join, like not a demo version, but maybe a short version of your course for free. And as they get really excited, then you can then add and develop this course even more. So it's like do a pre-course, and then the actual course comes later. So all the promotion comes with your pre-course bits and pieces. So people put them together and say, well, we really like it. And then another thing that I see is working really, really well in some countries. And since I don't know where you'll be working and how you'll be doing it, is a challenge. So and a challenge means I'm giving you 1 month, and in 1 month you're working with me. You're creating a group, for instance, on Facebook. You are working with me, and I'm helping you to become fluent within 1 month. But you have to commit to this 1 month. I'm writing low commitment. Actually, it's high commitment to 1 month, but low commitment means it's short-term commitment. I'm sorry for the vocabulary. It's a short-term commitment, which people nowadays, those that are reading tweets, they they really like short-term commitments. They don't want to be saying, and actually I see it more and more whenever I work with students, even one-to-one. Every time I have a free trial, they ask me, how long do you think I will need to achieve my goal? There's always this idea of, I don't want to overcommit. I want to commit to, let's say, 6 months, but after that, no more. So in this case, you do a 1 month challenge where you say, okay, learn modal verbs in 1 month. You do it as a free event, so which means your main focus is to get more people. You give them assignments and have them work on it and comment on what they are posting in your group, and give them some tips and make it actionable. Also, from the very beginning, when you create this challenge, you have to decide how much time you're willing to commit to it daily, because it may suck life out of you. So but it's very important for promotion, especially if you're at the stage where you would like to teach online, but you're not sure where to find students and you don't know how to go about that. I would start out with creating a short course. And before I even create the short course, take the steps to put together, to work with your audience. Um, and then title. Title is very important. Look at these titles. Title 1, Learn to Speak Fluently. Title 2, 5 Easy Techniques to Start Speaking Fluently. Title 3, 5 Easy Techniques to Start Speaking Fluently in 30 Days. Title 4, Teach Yourself to Speak Fluently in 30 Days. Which of these ones will sell best? And actually, if you can, right now and you're in chat, you can actually send it to me. But I won't tell you which one sells best because it's actually evident from the 4 principles that I found for choosing the right title. A right title has to give a promise. So, then we go back and ask ourselves which one of them gives more promise. Then it has to intrigue, or not all of them, by the way. Actually, not all of these 4 components come into one title, but at least 1 or 2. It has to give a promise, or it has to intrigue. It has to have something like, that is interesting. I wonder what it's about. It has to address a specific need, right? So, for example, if people will tell you, my greatest need is to use modal verbs in my daily life or daily speech. I know them, but I can't use them. So that is the language that you want to incorporate them in your title, because you will say, instead of saying um, a short course of modal verbs, right? Which is good. It's a content, but the next principle is the content. You create your title based on what is in the course. However, the problem with that is, unless you are some really well-known author, people won't really look at it and say, yeah, this is what I want. But because when you go on Udemy, chances are there will be dozens of these courses that say, you know, use modals, or how to use modals or learn modals. But what you need to do is to either intrigue people or speak to their need, because those titles are not as common. And in fact, when you go and do your research, remember what I did in the very beginning. Before you create your course, you need to do some research on it. You want to see which titles are most common. Sometimes people just have too many promise titles, and that's when you need to intrigue. Or people speak to the needs, that's when you need to give promise, etc. So these are like good tips that I found very helpful. And finally, because I've done this on Udemy, And again, I can talk a lot about that, but we're running out of time. Um, I've created a course and uploaded on Udemy, and it has a certain advantages and disadvantages. Um, I mean, my other option was to create a course and post it on my website, but how many students would come to my website, especially when I first started out? Really, no, not too many. So advantages of putting it on Udemy or any other marketplace is that it gives you greater visibility to you and your product, more chances to get noticed. It's easy to test a product. In other words, you can create a very, very short version of it and make it free and get lots of students and then say, okay, my next one is going to be really cool and long, and not long, but a little longer than this one. And as you're putting the course together, you're getting these people excited about it, and then they sign up for your next course. And then you have a greater pool of students due to greater traffic. There's no way that unless you are super computer and internet geek, there's no way that you will be able to actually achieve a higher traffic, really high traffic from day one. So you need Udemy for that. Now, disadvantages can be and I have learned it the hard way, that you do not post expensive courses on Udemy, because Udemy is a place, and it's going to be, I think, even more so as people are getting more options. They will be choosing based on price. And until they actually know you, they won't be looking at, they will be looking at the content, but they won't be, but they will also be looking at the price. So when you create something that costs like $20 max or 30, it's not as bad as creating something that is 100, or sometimes I've seen $500 courses. Those are very, very expensive. They take a lot of time to put together, and the return on investment is very low. So do not put together long courses. Then Udemy runs promotions for you, which is good and bad. And bad because when they run promotions for you, you only have like a certain a smaller fraction of what you get. And for instance, your course costs $30. They do a $10 promotion, you get 50%, which is better than not having anything when you're promoting it yourself. But this is definitely not an advantage. Then there are certain restrictions that obviously do not allow you to draw people to your brand. You have fewer chances to do push marketing because you can only send 2 promotional announcements a month, and not always the best money maker, but again, it depends. For me, Udemy, a course on Udemy is for greater visibility, and B, to have a greater pool of students, and only C, to make money. So depending on what you want to do and how much work you're willing to put into promotions, then definitely, but I would, by all means, I would really advise you to start out on Udemy because it's very easy. And you can easily, especially if you create a free course, you can easily have a lot of students joining if it's the course that people really need. And that's how you can test it out, because you never know. Will people need this topic? Post it and you find out. Um, well, I guess that's it for today. I'm launching the book on the 20th. Yay, I'm so excited. I'm done writing it. Now I'm formatting it, which is not my strength, but hopefully it will all come together on the 20th, which I know it will. But on the 19th, which is a Monday, I am doing another webinar, and I will be sending you that in an email in 2 hours, on how to accelerate your teaching using specific tools for online teaching, 15 useful tools. Um, it's going to be basic in a way, but it's going to be helpful for you, and I'm sure there will be a couple of tools that you'll look at and you'll say, wow, I never used those. They're interesting. So I'll just show them. It will be more like a showcase where I'll be showing my screen and my page, and you'll get a chance to see that. And my ebook is coming out on the 20th. And if you haven't signed up on it, it's gumroad.com/Elena Motonono. Sign up for it, and you will get a chance to be the first one to know when it comes out. And thank you so very much for joining today. And I'm trying to stop this screen sharing process. Thank you very much for being a little patient with my slight technical glitch in the beginning. That's one thing that you will learn as you teach online, that this is something you can never control. In a traditional classroom, now, of course, unless the lights go off or electricity goes off, there's some things that you control. You can control a lot of things. Here, I couldn't control. I'm so happy that I have internet and that we're able to run this event successfully. Um, I thank you for the um, that you put together or have put in to listen to me. And I hope that I will see you again on the 19th. I'll be sharing a few things with you about how you can accelerate your online teaching and what resources you could use. If you have questions right now, feel free to post them now. But I'm looking, I don't see anything yet, which I'm going to refresh the page. And I hope that you will be able to determine what it is that you want to teach, and you start working on that course. Another cool thing that will happen, and I will send you in my email in about 2 hours, is your 6-week guide. And the 6-week guide is actually something that will help you create a course or launch the course, prepare your audience to welcome your course. So I don't see anything for right now. So in your email, look out for these things. And for some reason, it's not broadcasting. Good. I'm back online. Sorry, guys. Just said that it was working well. Thank you very much for your time today. And I will be connecting with you then via email, and then hopefully next week, if you join my webinar on accelerating your teaching. And then, of course, I am so excited about launching my book and share a lot more about creating your online business and starting it. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful, great weekend that starts tomorrow. Bye-bye.